Right, hello and welcome to another Expert Insight interview. My name is John Golden from SalesPOP, online sales magazine, and Coavera, formerly Pipeliner CRM, joining you as usual from a sunny San Diego. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Christopher Papin, who is in the Oklahoma City area. How you doing, Christopher?
Wonderful day. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Of course. And you're a licensed attorney, CPA, and insurance producer who uniquely integrates legal, tax, accounting, and risk management services under one roof at Papin's CPA and Papin Law in Edmond, Oklahoma. You help small business owners move beyond fragmented compliance work to be proactive, holistic strategies that protect and compound. And that's what we're going to talk about today is how to move price conversations to long-term value and ROI. Before I start, though, that combination of being a licensed attorney, a CPA, and insurance, tell me that's a relatively unique combination in one person.
It is. There's a test or two involved, some credentialing. We've got a securities license incoming, kind of going through the paces to get that going. But it's really all born out of opportunity.
Right.
Mom and dad were small business owners, so I kind of grew up in this entrepreneurial environment. And when I was going through education, a lot of the conversations in CPA land kind of stopped because they crossed over into law. And lawyers had to do one piece, CPAs had to do another, right?
Yeah.
And the further I got down, and I'd love to say as a young man, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. But you kind of refine the thought process as you go and found this crossroads where folks are looking for a larger conversation. They're looking to brainstorm with people. The cliche is leadership is lonely because there's not everybody's in that leadership position with you.
Yeah.
And it uniquely puts us in a position to say, I can tell you some more stories. I can't tell you the clients because privilege applies. But I don't think you should do that because, or financially, or how the financial and legal crossroads may pass.
So tell me, one of the things that you talk about is the importance of business owners behaving like business owners.
Yeah.
What does that mean? What explain that to me?
Yeah, so twofold. We've dubbed it as Blabo. A piece of it is my podcast that is really wanting to talk about the real of business. But this behave like a business owner concept is nothing unique. People have probably heard work on your business versus in your business. But what I recognized in kind of where this grew out of is there's a lot of us that are both the technician in the business, the licensed attorney or CPA, but also the business owner. So this is where we kind of get into the mode of, I want to go home early or I want to take PTO because I'm the employee. That is self-service. Where the business owner mind might say, no, you probably need to come in on Saturday morning and grind through that extra thing that you didn't do because you went to maybe a ball game or something. Like that. And I'm not here to say, spend more time on your business. That's not the message. The message is make sure that you are aligned with what the business owner goals are, with the longer term objectives. Make sure the decision you make Wednesday at noon is relevant to that business owner goal, not the employee goal, because they may not be the same thing. And that's where we see a lot of folks, I'm going to say, get lost. It's not that they don't know their goals and ambitions, but small business owners, without exception, went into business to have more flexibility and provide for a greater living for their family.
Yeah, and that is quite the conflict, if you think the inner conflict, especially if you especially if you worked somewhere before and then you decide to start a business. That duality of mindset, you've got to kind of move from being like an employee to the founder, to the owner, and obviously sometimes one feels better than the other.
It does. And again, the thing that Blabo is born out of, you're going to make a decision. No one cares what the decision is. I just want people to be accountable to the decision. That's it. Good or bad decision, who cares? Just be accountable to it and understand what it means, rather than, we've all heard the business owner say, well, there's just not enough time in the day. I showed up on Monday and ... Yeah, that's part of being a business owner. Next.
Yeah, exactly. So you work with a lot of small businesses, right? I mean, what do you think what is one of the common blind spots do you think they have around the areas of you, like with legal and tax and risk management, that maybe destroys value over time?
So I'm going to give you two answers here,
Mhm.
just because one's a little more clickbait friendly. But one that we see on the regular, which is not a specific topic, but it's a victim of the circumstance. We
Mhm.
get advice from online, and we are conducting ourselves to be in that space online. So I don't want to make fun of it, but what I say in this conversation is incomplete. It doesn't apply to your scenario.
Mhm.
And I think clients own it because they heard it in this online format and say, oh my gosh, that applies to me. And then they start putting a square peg in a round hole.
Right.
They don't understand the context around it. The second most common is I'm going to say a long game conversation, which kind of aligns with value, but I'm going to tell the story that's going to hit home the point. Almost without exception, we get clients that have had another CPA in their lives. And they will tell us in the intro meetings, we don't really think the other CPA was a bad person. We think they did a good job. We actually don't worry about our returns being audited, but we didn't get a lot of proactive advice
Yeah.
and we are seeking something more. Then I put a proposal in front of them and they say, well, the old guy used to just do this for this amount. And I'm going, okay, that's great.
Yeah.
But the whole reason you came to me was because you didn't want what the old guy was offering, or gal,
Mhm.
usually guy. I want something different, but now that I'm faced with a price decision, I don't want something different. And
Mhm.
there's your value prop that is
Yeah.
hard
Yeah.
because we get in our own way in that decision making process. And to me, they don't have a full understanding of what they're asking for, which is what makes it hard as a consumer. You know, we're not grabbing a box of whatever cereal is important to you off the shelf. Do I want the fruit ones or do I want the chocolate one?
Mhm.
You're buying the unknown.
Yeah.
And that's hard. That's really hard. I struggle with it personally. So
Mhm.
we try to align with, here's what you said, here's what you wanted, here's what you illustrated to us. You said your goals were, here's the path to get there. Here's our role in that path to get there. To the audience, guess what? I don't do anything for any business owner. I
Mhm.
do a lot to help them, but I
Yes.
don't own their business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hence, blabo, behave like that business owner. But I can sit shoulder to shoulder with you. I can reason through things with you. I can help you make those decisions. You can delegate tax returns to us or other items, but it's a collaboration and you have to be
Mhm.
present. So I
Yeah.
know that was a long way to set that second one up, but it's tough because people don't know what they want sometimes.
Yeah. Just one kind of aside on this, and I'd love to get
Mhm.
your take on this is how much now is AI impacting? Because here's the thing, and I'm seeing this across so many things, Christopher, is unfortunately 99% of people, 99.9% of people don't know how to use AI properly, right? They and they're just going in and they're putting stuff into one of these models and they're getting a load of feedback and they're taking it as gospel, right? They're saying, okay, well that must be true because it's coming out of here. How much is that starting to impact people where maybe they're getting erroneous or incomplete or information from AI and they're acting on it, and it probably complicates things for people like you when you have conversations with them.
So, John, this is incredible insight, and this is a great conversation to have. We like when people are engaging and trying to get more information, as long as I have the right mindset that goes
Mhm.
with this. So,
Yes.
your observation about getting bad data, the way we kind of approach AI as a firm is we clients are using it, so we must
Mhm.
be using it. But there's different models for different things. There's
Yep.
closed-end systems where PII is safe. There's open-end systems where it is not.
Mhm.
What you use, how you use it, it all behaves in the same way. There is an info dump in, of which context may or may not be lacking, and then there are decision points. So we talk to our team regularly about, we will thrive at the decision points. So you search for a 754 election for your partnership in your language learning model of choice. It can reference IRS code, it can get some things, and it probably will get you a sequencing of the things that need to happen. Okay, go put it on a return. And I challenge this because it's the same with a marketing tactic. It's the same with some sort of compliance document. It's the same with a payroll recommendation or bonuses. It can frame out and help the decision-making process, but I mean, I'm going to go on record. I am not aware of a language learning model one that has an E&O policy that will back what it spits out. None. And what we're running into with clients is what I think your observation is, well, Claude, ChatGPT, Copilot, whoever told me it should be this way.
Yeah.
Which is not wrong. But there's more to it. And then professionals have to sign off on some of those things. And if you want me to vet what that is so that I understand it at a level to sign, it doesn't mean I don't do the work and just take it for granted. I can't. Professional ethics prohibit me from doing so. So it's a tough balance. But the observation about misuse is exceptional.
It really is, because the thing that most people don't understand is, number one, the LLM they're using, if they don't explicitly tell it to go out and get the most recent information, update everything, it's going to use its memory, and that may be out of date. It may be incorrect. It may be incomplete. The other thing is, AI is great at, it's a great friend because it encourages you, tells you you're great, it tells you you're right, it feeds you whatever you want, it loves you, and everything, unless you tell it not to. Unless you say, no, I need you to give me, like, push back here. So to your point, I think it makes it very difficult, or it's going to make it quite difficult for people like you for a while. Like, you're going to be bumping up against this, where people now think Claude or somebody else told them all this stuff and it's true, and now you're having to sort of debunk some of it, which, is never a great situation, is it?
It's complex, but the typical business owner has an open enough mind. Like, if they say to me, hey, it said this, why is your answer different? And I explain it and they believe me, no problem. And candidly, I kind of like that stuff because it shows people are engaged. But if they keep challenging me based on bad source data, well, your scenario here of I've got to debunk you, you're not my client. If you want to rely on somebody else, rely on somebody else.
That's a good point. Actually, maybe that's even better point. Maybe that's another great way of filtering out the wrong clients for you.
In some instances, it can be. I mean, I tell people all the time, and that I'm personality driven. Like, I want to work with people that I like. I am a specific brand of person. The way I deliver information may or may not be for you. I'm okay if you tell me, hey, I don't like your style, I'm going to choose somebody else. We can be grown-ups about it. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. It's just, this is me. I don't know any other way to be.
Well, it's I'm originally from Ireland, and I quote my compatriot Oscar Wilde all the time when he said, be yourself because everyone else is taken.
Right? That's is about as good a gold as any.
Exactly. So when you are having these conversations, what kind of questioning or frameworks, or how do you manage to shift people off of, like, the immediate price sensitivity for services like yours to the long term, to understanding the long-term value and the ROI? Because, as you said, it's natural, especially for small businesses. The cost is always going to be the thing that overrides, unless you can, talk somebody through and make them understand the long-term value.
Well, so first and foremost, we kind of have to set up the types of decisions that drive these longer term value conversations are based on a certain set of information. So the kind of the vocab we've dubbed internally to the firm is accounting is the sun. Everything revolves around accounting. If I can't see your financial statements, I can't help you make decisions. Let me rephrase that. If I don't have your financial statements, I'm not making well-informed decisions with you. I can make all kinds of decisions. We just don't know if they're based in anything or not, right? So there's an information piece that we refer to as maintenance, accounting, payroll, tax. Like those are the things you got to go do. That is the foundation on which you stand for the advisory, the planning, the value build. And without one, you can't have the other. And it's tough because sometimes people want us to swoop in, have the magic bullet. The magic bullet I've got is let me know what your net income is. I'm going to set my fees up to be that. I'm just this masterful dude because your tax liability is zero because my fees are 100% deductible.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody takes me up on that for some reason, which lays the picture of we want a value prop beyond tax of zero. Mm-hmm. We want to keep the money and have taxes zero. Okay, well, there's strings attached to that. So once we establish kind of the foundation, then it goes into there are a lot of things we can do. We need to orient them towards your goals, your family, and your risk profile. If you are super conservative and you're only going to invest in things you can touch, a 401k is not a good answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you're ultra aggressive and want to invest in only alternative investments, 401k is not your answer.
Yeah.
You kind of get the extremes there, but aligning with what people want and then bringing situations, and I can't always know the ROI in advance.
Sure.
But frequently we know the path. We've seen business owners down the road. So the question is the juice worth the squeeze? You're about to spend $5,000. If that saves you 15, you tell me, is that worth it to you and your family? For some people it is. For some people, they'll say, no, it's too complex. There's other risk I don't want to deal with. It's not worth it. Okay, let's move to the next thing. And that's kind of the realistic approach because it has to be grounded in the client, the person, and their desires.
Yeah. So how do you then help them, when you work with clients, help them actually apply this even to their own business, to how they interact with their clients?
To me, it's twofold because like first and foremost, every business is typically solving some sort of a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And also every business has some sort of hidden level of interaction that doesn't get publicly absorbed. So a bad example, but I like stories here, but like grocery stores. Inside of a grocery store, you're typically going for food, milk, things like that, but they happen to have toiletries, paper goods, diapers, all the other things that you need as a family by design. That's kind of that hidden value thing that I'm getting at. So I try to make sure that clients are aligned in a position where, number one, we're solving problems. We're not creating problems for our customers. Mm-hmm. We're solving, but we're also present on the other items. We want to be present. We want to be in your face. We want to be known, but we don't want to be disrespectful. We don't want to be pushy, and we don't want to cram anything down somebody's throat that they don't want. Mm-hmm. So that's a hard art. And in relationship building is usually the number one key to get some of that done. The second piece that we always go through is we have a conversation, and for those that are kind of in sales and marketing land, I'm going to way dumb this down and they're going to laugh at me, but acquiring a new client is a lot more expensive than servicing an existing one.
Absolutely.
So if you have opportunities to expand scope for existing or help, even though you can't do it all, sit shoulder to shoulder with somebody. I do not do anything at the courthouse. Never will. Don't want to, not a passion. But clients, if they are to get sued, need general counsel. It's going to help steer them and explain what litigation counsel is doing and go through those things. So there's a problem solved where I'm not going to be in that role, but I can add value. I can bring peace of mind. Maybe it's not monetary value, but I can at least help you understand what's going on or give you a sense for what are the steps that are involved there. So if people can orient in those two ways of making sure they have the problem and then kind of accelerate this hidden value, that's where I think most business owners really want to be and thrive, regardless of service.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's where most of them want to be. And one other thing, so you were recognized by Thomson Reuters, and you received the MYCPE One Excellent Award for transforming professional services. Easy for me to say, obviously. But so tell me, obviously, as somebody who is innovative in this space, where do you see professional services going over the next while? Like, do you see big changes coming? Because
of AI, there will be big changes.
Mm-hmm.
I think my running joke is if I could predict all of this, I'd be doing something else.
Yeah. That's true too.
But there's some truth in the day-to-day. Right now, data is fragmented, in my opinion. And I think AI is going to allow us to consolidate this information in a different way.
Yep.
What you do with it still matters. And that decision-making judgment process, I think, is going to elevate a little bit. Whereas sometimes like gathering bank statements is hard now. Well, that'll end up automated at some point. And then we'll have to figure out what to do with those statements. So there's one element. The second element that I really see, and I think this is going to be especially true for law and accounting, maybe for other professional services lines, but where there's a professional layover, a designation, a license, a something else, there is a different standard that comes with that.
Yeah.
So even though AI can do the accounting, or even QuickBooks can produce a set of financial statements, is that really a gap set of financial statements or a tax basis financial statement? What data we use and how we use that data, especially in these professional services lands or credentialed services lands, because this could be, like an IT security certificate that is not traditional schooling, but I get all this specialized knowledge so that people can't hack your system. That's going to matter in a vastly different way than it ever has. And I think we've kind of gotten in this weird spot where, because technology and software is easy, we've brought the standard down. And just because it looks right, kind of this AI answer, it looks like the answer's right, therefore it must be right. But as we all learned a long time ago, the internet is not always right.
Yeah, exactly.
So somewhere in that space, I believe, is truth. And then the final one, which is the one we're trying to spend the most time with, is meeting people where they are.
Yeah.
This ability to see information in a consolidated environment. The conversation we had with the client last week, they said, well, can't you just fill out my retirement paperwork for me too? No, not licensed to do so. It would require a power of attorney, way too much information. The custodian's not going to accept that. We got to get theirs. Let me just get a securities license over time, and then I can step in and do that for you.
Right.
Okay, well, sure, that'd be great. So I think that's the type of model you see.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. Yeah. So, and I would agree with you. So as AI becomes more prevalent, I think the qualifications, the experience, and the intelligence and the insight of the human needs to step up.
Yeah. And I think it's going to make some people squirm in between, because we've gotten complacent's probably the wrong word. I don't think we're that calm about it. But this, like, pick your sports team. I mean, I'm a soccer / football guy, depending on where we are in the world. But
yeah, it's football. Football. What they play in the US is throw ball. It's football.
There we go. I'm going to run with that one. But we all know teams that they're so good they show up, therefore they won, except for when they didn't.
Yes.
And that's where I think some people are with. They were early adopters of a version of technology that allowed them to be ahead of people. Well, now they're behind unless they continue to innovate.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you absolutely. Well, listen, Christopher, this has been fantastic. All of Christopher's information will be below this video. But before we go, please do remind people about what you do.
Yeah, so attorney CPA, Papin Law, Papin CPA. I have a book, 168 Hours, which is a small business owner guide that respects your time, that is designed to kind of help people go down this entrepreneurial journey. If you go to website papinspeaks.com, it's designed to kind of funnel people to all the different places. Also, my name on LinkedIn, if you just search for Chris Papin, you'll find me. So all the good things. But at the end of the day, we represent small businesses and small business owners and help them succeed.
Fantastic. Well, listen, thanks again, Christopher. Thank you for watching and listening, and I will see you all again very soon. Thank you.